Hi, and welcome to the Ankota Training Academy. Let's get started.
Hello, and thank you so much for your interest in starting a home care agency. We really want to help out. My name is Ken, and I'm on a web page that is called The Ultimate Guide to Starting a Home Care Agency, and there's a lot of resources in this guide. But today's video specifically is designed to give you really the three top tips. I know that when you're trying to contemplate, should I start this business or not, you really need some simple answers. So I'm going to focus today on three top tips that you really need to know before you decide to move forward. And we hope you do, by the way. So the first thing that I want to share as a tip is that you need to be starting this business for the right reasons. And there are a lot of really good reasons. And one of them, very importantly, is that this business is really poised to grow. So here I'm pointing at a map in 2020. And in 2020, there are around 13 million Americans who are over the age of 80. And the reason that I'm using this as a guide, Americans over 80, is because people think, okay, well, home care is for retired people, but 65-year-olds, 70-year-olds, 75-year-olds in general are very healthy people, and they don't need home care. Home care kicks in when they start needing help with their activities of daily living. They need help with their dressing, their grooming, their hygiene, their nutrition, and their bathing and things like that. And that, in general, is in the upper 70s or lower 80s and above. Keep in mind that in this country now, that men are living to the mid 80s, around 84 years old, and women are living to the upper 80s, around 87 years old. So, so given that, there's some great reasons right here that you might want to start this business. But this in and of itself is not, the reason, and is not enough of a reason for you to go ahead and proceed here. You really want to make sure that you're starting for the right reasons, and that you understand that this is, although it's a great business, it's growing, it's rewarding, it's not a simple business. And so, here we got these quotes from people who we know in the industry and have spoken to. And some of them have said, hey, I was a nurse, and, then I took off time to have my kids. And then when my kids were in school, I started providing some care during the day, and it grew from there. But this person, they started as a nurse, and that's a great, beginning. And some people started, they said, I'm a compassionate person with a heart for caring, and things like that. So this is, really, really important that you're starting your business for the right reasons. I guess to turn this to the other side is, here we are in 2020, which I will refer to as the times of COVID. And, and during these times of COVID-19, a lot of us have lost jobs in different industries, like, let's say, retail has really gone down. And if you're just saying, oh, hey, I was in retail, now I'll go into home care because it's growing, I mean, that might not be enough of a reason. So if you don't have a heart for caring, and if you don't really have the budget, so it says that in order to start a home care agency, that you would need somewhere between $40,000 and $80,000 on average to get your business off and on the right foot. So that's another thing that you should keep in mind. And then, there's again, some reasons. I mean, somebody who's like, well, I don't have my retail job anymore, and I want to go into something new. I mean, make sure that this is the thing for you, that it feels good for you, and that you really want to do it. And then you understand that it's not an easy business. You're going to be dealing with caregivers, and again, caregivers, you want them to be people as well who really love caring, and some of them are fantastic and great, but others are somebody who's just looking for that temporary job, and there's a lot of turnover in caregiving. And and then, so again, it's just a hard business. So tip number one is make sure that you're getting into this business for the right reason. The next thing that we're going to jump to is that in order to start an agency like this, you need to make sure that you're able to in your state. And here, so I'm kind of jumping down to this third, call it chapter, in this Ultimate Guide to Starting a Home Care Agency. And it talks about business eligibility and regulatory compliance. And what you'll find is that in some states, some examples here, Alabama and Michigan, you could just go ahead and start a business. You have to register it as a business, maybe as a corporation or an LLC, and you're good to go. But in other states, you need to have a nurse on staff to start your business, or in some states, you even need to be a nurse to start a home care business. And in some states, there are some pretty big licensing fees. We spelled out here, California. The fee is, it's over $5,000. I think it's actually close to $6,000. And in Texas, I said it's around 2,000. I think in that case, it's around 1,800, closer to 1,900. But again, in some states, there's big numbers. And another big thing is that in some states, you can't even open a home care agency because the state has put either a delay or a moratorium on starting new home care agencies because they might feel like they have enough agencies in the state and that they're not going to do that. So that's my most important thing. Now, having said that, we know that, and we try to do the research, and it's hard to figure out what to do in your state. So first of all, here's a great video you could click on from a fantastic home care consultant out of Atlanta called Coach Michelle. Even though she's out of Atlanta, Georgia, she knows so much about home care in many, many, many of the 50 states, if not all of them. And she's a great resource here. But, she, in her videos and that kind of thing, she'll give you these tips like, hey, make sure, not to go to first to a franchise website or even to a consultant website. Make sure you're getting information from an authoritative guide, and make sure that you're able to open an agency in your state and those types of things. So that's really, really good advice. But we went further and we said, all right, how do I start an agency in each of the 50 states? And if you click on the link for your state, it'll take you, first of all, it'll take you to this page. And I'm here in the middle in Nevada. I'm going to jump back to the top. But this is a state-by-state guide on how to start a home care agency. It talks about good consultants in your state. It talks about licensing, policies and procedures, what you need to do to get your back office in line, who are the state home care associations that you might be able to learn from and maybe attend one of their conferences and things like that. And if you go through this, it's going to take you state by state and point you to resources that can help you out. So tip number one, again, start this business for the right reasons. Here we are with Coach Michelle again in Georgia. Tip number two is make sure to figure out what it takes to start a home care agency in your state. And then back to the ultimate guide, the very last, and they're all very, very important tips, but the last tip we're going to share as a top tip for starting a home care agency is that you really need to be able to sell, right? So you should be saying to yourself, how am I, what you're selling in this case means that you have to find the clients who are going to receive home care services. So if you have experience in, let's say, the elder care community, and you're very active in, let's say, your church and your community, and people know you, and you have a heart for selling, and you're able to do that, and you're saying, hey, I know that there's a need for home care in my community. I've shopped the competition. I think that there's not great options there, and I could go ahead and sell in my community. That would be, a very, very important aspect of things. So I just clicked on this to jump to that chapter, and here is in the guide some things. It talks about shopping the competition, deciding how you're going to differentiate your business compared to the others. It says decide your flavor, and the point of that is that most of the agencies are going to be vanilla flavor, right? And if there's a special need in your community for a certain kind of care, maybe you should specialize in that care. And then, your website, your grand opening, and that type of thing. This is another fantastic consultant. I know him personally. His name is Stephen Weiss, but he actually has the stage name, if you will, of Steve the Hurricane. And he's all about helping you blow away the competition in your area. So there are a lot of free resources from Steve as well. And that takes us through, most of the key things in how to do the sales part. But then another thing that I will point out that's in the guide really quickly before we wrap up is that there are a lot of sources of home care income. So of course, one of the biggest primary sources is you find somebody who needs care, they have money to pay for the care, and that's what they call private pay. And then some people, they might have had the foresight to buy what's called long-term care insurance. So they might have an insurance policy that pays for that. And that's something you should always check for. But the point of this table is there's a whole lot of other sources of income, and this could help you sell as well, and it could also help you answer that question in tip 3: do I have the ability to do these sales? Am I connected to the Veterans Administration? Maybe you're a veteran yourself, or you are connected to veterans in the community. And there's really, most of people who are paying for home care themselves are on the wealthier side of society, but there's also a lot of the home care is delivered to people who are not very wealthy, and that's through Medicaid programs, because Medicaid is saying that they would rather have somebody living in the comfort of their home with a little bit of assistance in the form of a home care caregiver coming and helping that person, rather than taking that elderly individual and institutionalizing them in a nursing home. It's better quality of life for the person and also lower cost of care. So go through this list as well. So with that, again, I'll just do a quick recap. That the top 3 tips are: make sure you're getting into this business for the right reason. Make sure you figure out what it takes to start the business in your specific state. And finally, make sure that you have the aptitude for sales and growing your business and your client base, because that's ultimately going to be your success. With that, we're going to stop this video for today, and thank you very much. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks for watching this video from Ankota. Scroll down and click on the link in the video description below. Have a great day.